It's what gets us up in the morning. It keeps us thinking at night. It taps into our strengths and inspirations. It's the charge we get when an idea connects. A concept becomes reality. It's the satisfaction we feel when we can financially sustain ourselves and our families. It's impact and momentum. It's trying and failing and finding success. It's the spirit of small business, and it's what we're celebrating today. Pacific Coast Business Times honors the Spirit of Small Business Award winners and acknowledges their drive and inspirations. Nabil Zarif, known locally as Bilo, is a modern-day Renaissance man. His life journey began on the family farm in Turkey, where his father would enlist him early in the morning for the daunting task of tasting cotton and vegetable oils.
I had to taste oil in the morning. It wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was fine.
Raised with a steadfast work ethic and a love for working outdoors, Bilo left for the United States with selfless encouragement from his father and an eye on the American dream.
I have come to the United States because it was a land of opportunity, and especially coming from countries, third world, and building what you have, and you know that's yours. You know that you will own the land. You will always have your place, and nobody will take it away from you.
Bilo's early careers put him in the field of oil, where he started the wildcat drilling company Rock Oil under the tutelage of oil baron Marvin Davis. After oil prices tanked in 1988, he sold the company, while keeping some of the royalties, and refocused on a successful stint in oil commodities trading. Still, it was an eventful trip to Europe that inspired Bilo to embark on a new vocation that allowed him to engage with the land as he had as a boy in Turkey.
When I traveled throughout Europe and in France, and had the greatest opportunity with a fantastic mentor who introduced me to wine at the highest level. After seeing the old world winemaking versus the technology of today's and the combining and blending both the new world technology to the old world winemaking is what inspired me to be in the wine business.
Santa Barbara offered the perfect backdrop to Bilo's venture with Summerland Winery, offering an essence of coveted European lifestyle and a reminder of his home country.
It's very similar to my hometown, even in Turkey, and it is really what I'm accustomed to, an environment that I adore. So,
through trial and errors, failures and lessons learned, and strong strategic partnerships, Bilo found a successful niche in wine. He co-founded and sold Letitia wines just before the sideways-induced Pinot Noir craze, yet the experience allowed him to fine-tune his approach with Summerland Winery. Today, Bilo produces 25,000 cases of wine, with annual revenues at $3 million. Perhaps more importantly to Bilo is the critical acclaim he's received for the quality of his wines. Summerland's first releases of Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, His favorite part of the job is witnessing the reaction of his wine supporters during winemaking dinners.
The utmost challenge is really to bring out and to see their faces, to see their expression of satisfaction or dissatisfaction. So it's a very personal connection with my customers, and being proud of what you produce, and I want to bring on the table the best wine I can put in the bottle.
Of course, he saves some of the pleasure for himself too.
When I do the tasting in the morning, like if I do the blending or whatsoever, I don't drink the wine. I just, try about 200 different barrels just to make sure that the balance is there, that it's, it's not off or whatever. I just taste it, and then I start to do the blending. And once I finish the blending, then I taste it. Then I take it all in.
On the honor of the Spirit of Small Business Award, Bilo acknowledges that this is his first ever award.
I feel like, there's so many other people that have done such a better job than I did that I feel that, I don't deserve that this time, but I'll take it anytime.
Father and son duo Jim and Jamie Dietenhofer have a long history of working together.
My first job was working for him.
Yep.
Yeah,
Stripping x-ray films and
that's right.
picking up from hospitals.
Silver and gold.
Yeah.
Jamie was obviously inspired by his dad's sense of enterprise. Over the years, he worked hard and started his own successful business, but always with an eye on a dream to create craft beer.
I think the passion started in high school. They were drinking beer and stuff, and they talked
Maybe,
about it.
right. There maybe had a beer.
Yeah, one or two. But then he went to college, and he blew up a beer kit in his dorm and destroyed his dorm room.
Competition produces 25,000 barrels of highly acclaimed brews with 6 breweries and tap rooms from Arroyo Grande to Westlake Village. The
That all these brewers sit at, rather than have one that dictates this is what we're doing. They all have input so that you all buy into the process. And all the talents seem to come out and complement each other, so that's why we're so
Different
lucky.
skill sets, yeah.
Jim and Jamie engage regular customers, which has lent well to a unique market research approach.
The 6 locations that we have gives us a testing for all the different beers, and we always have new beers coming out. And we get forced, if we stop brewing that beer and there becomes a mutiny, we know, well, maybe we better start bottling that one. We better bring that
in
one
the
back.
parking lot, yeah.
What's on tap for future brews?
But we have our first kettle sour coming out. So now sours are dangerous, so we don't want to have sours going everywhere. But a kettle sour is something that you moderately funk a little bit and cook it off in the boil. So we're able to get something a little bit more on that playful side, which I think our patrons want. But it's also very dangerous to do sours in any type of our stuff. So we've always stayed away from that. And coming out with some new lagers. A lot of people stay away from lagers. It's just hoppy. But we love the traditional German lagers. So we have a kind of a set of those coming out that we're excited about. And of course, our Belgian IPA is just about to come out.
With 8 years of success under their belt, Figueroa Mountain is still keeping it local by investing back into their mothership, Buellton Brewery, with a new kitchen, expanded beer garden, and soundstage.
That's the same feeling we'd like to have is we're here. This is our central hub. And people from the outside have to beg or steal or get a semi and steal it or whatever to get it out.
I like this where this is going. This is good.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
With their distribution, they understand part of the appeal is geo-limited availability.
And that's why the names Davy Brown and Lizard's Mouth. We want people to come here and ask about that. And I think that's important to us because once you lose home, I think that's gonna change our business plan. And it doesn't mean we don't want to sell our beer outside and have people experience it, but world domination will have to wait.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Jim and Jamie recognize success isn't just about profit margins. It's more than passion. Jim and Jamie live, breathe, and bleed Figueroa Mountain.
But until you find something that you're like happy to wake up and go do, you're like, oh my God, this is what I've been missing. And you kind of look back on the 12 years like, why did I just lose 12 years of my life? But now it's, it's great. It's not easy, but it's great. It's rewarding.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially working with this nutball.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Keeps him on his toes.
Right.
strong work ethic. Chet recalls joining his father at the Chinese restaurant where he was employed. Chet was paid 25 cents a day for chopping vegetables and deveining shrimp, which he promptly spent at the comic book store next door. Chet says growing up in a household with 4 brothers and 2 sisters, he always felt the need to be well educated. Inspired from the suggestion of a track coach, he started thinking about going to the Naval Academy his freshman year of high school. He set that as a goal and did whatever was needed to make that happen. After graduating from the academy, he served 7 years in the Navy as a pilot and the subsequent 23 years as a commanding officer in the Navy Reserve. Chet founded his company, CJ Cito Support Services, in 1999 after working for the Ventura County Hazardous Waste Management Company. In his former job, he recognized areas where efficiencies could be improved and wanted to get back to his roots working for the federal government. CJ Cito Support Services provides environmental health and safety services to both private and government interests. Still, there were 2 major obstacles for Chet in starting his business. The first was to get a foothold into the federal government contracting world. The second was to secure financing for the work he did receive. To overcome the first obstacle, Chet was accepted into the SBA 8A program, which allowed him to market his services to federal agencies and obtain sole source contracts without having to go through a protracted bidding process. For the second obstacle, he partnered with Montecito Bank and Trust, who he says understood the parameters of the government contracting business and offered him an adaptable line of credit. Over the past 2 years, CJ Cito Support Services increased from 34 employees in 2014 to 64 employees in 2015 to 100 employees today. Chet says if things go right, his company could make more than $20 million in annual revenue. Part of Chet's success relates to his extensive Navy training. Like the Navy, his business is set up with 2 chains of commands, one for operations and another for administrative. The Navy taught Chet to be a good leader. You have to provide your staff with vision and guidance and be willing to relinquish responsibilities to enhance their professional development. In the future, Chet sees the company transitioning from a small to a large business with over 400 employees and a presence in all of the major Navy installations in the U.S. He also anticipates expanding into engineering, logistics, and training, as well as opening up new areas to include research and development, test and evaluation, and foreign military sales. On his award, Chet says it's a validation of a vision. He says, "I never dreamt or anticipated that I would start my own company, let alone make it a highly successful one to boot. As things turned out, I was able to serve my adopted country for 30 years and also be a successful businessman. I have truly fulfilled my American dream." For John and Jennifer Weir, an affinity for coffee started at a young age.
My mom tells a story that I could barely walk, but I would crawl up to the table and try to steal sips of her coffee.
And fostered budding forays into the job market.
My first job on Cape Cod as a 16-year-old was working in a coffee shop owned by 2 Italian guys. One spoke English, one yelled in Italian a lot.
An early high school graduate, John Weir put himself through college on the East Coast by working at local coffee shops, as he was too young to work in bars. By the time he graduated, he saw that the business of coffee provided a more
A bachelor's degree in U.S. constitutional history and English literature. I could either teach public school for $22,000 a year, or I could come to the West Coast and work for Starbucks as a manager in Montecito and make about $7,000 a year more than that. So I came to the West Coast.
Eventually, John moved through the corporate ranks of the big kings of caffeination, Starbucks, and Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. But it was his expanding exposure and relationship with the coffee farmers that gave him the epiphany on the future of the industry, and his responsibility as the final stop in the coffee supply chain.
I left 2 corporate coffee company jobs after waking up and woke up feeling like we weren't honoring what was happening right in front of me in the roasting plant and through the end of the process.
In 2010, with his wife Jennifer, John created Beacon Coffee in Ventura, where they independently source and roast their own coffee beans. By applying a focus on the superior quality of flavor for the consumer, they are changing the payment model for coffee farmers.
When we visit with each of the farmers each year, whether we've been working with them for 2 years or longer since we started in 2010, we always start the conversation with, how has this year gone so far? How's harvest going? Did you run into any issues? What do you need? What did it cost this year? So we start with that, and then we taste the coffee together. After we decide what the cost of production was, a quality differential on top of that to reward them for all of the extra work that they did.
Riding what is considered the third wave of the consumer's evolving standards for coffee, John and Jennifer are delivering intricate coffee flavor experiences that can be derived not only by regions, but by specific farms and bean varietals. Every year, John and Jennifer head to South America to personally select the coffee offered at Beacon.
The last trip that we did 3 countries in 11 days, and we saw 28 farms.
With their second shop opening in Ojai within the month, Beacon will continue to bring their farmers' stories to the local communities via their unique focus on education.
And in our industry, cupping is very similar to a wine tasting. So when we cup coffee, we taste 3 coffees side by side, comparing terroir, growing practices, and how they're finished and milled, and then discuss why you're tasting what you're tasting.
In describing their perfect cups of coffee, you can see how Beacon is a labor of love for John and Jennifer.
My favorite cup of coffee in the world usually happens in about the second week of February at about 6:30 in the morning local time in the Central Valley of Costa Rica when I wake up on porch at La Manita. Best coffee ever.
As a young boy in the lush seaside municipality of Privlaka, Croatia, Mile once dreamed of captaining his own ship. Yet, due to the restraints of the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, Mile and his wife, Nita Grbić, decided to look for new opportunities in America. On Christmas Day in 1985, they packed up their young family and made the 6,000-mile trek with the sole objective to better the lives of their children. Once they arrived in the U.S., it was not exactly just smooth sailing. The family of 5 occupied a 1-room home in San Pedro, while Mile worked at a rock and mining company. Still, over the years, Mile built upon his knowledge and experience, with his son Rocco soon following in his footsteps. Mile said he was prompted to strike out on his own because he was unable to experiment with his ideas at previous jobs. Because Mile had 20 years of experience in the industry and a clear understanding of the regional market, he recognized the risk of starting his own business was worth taking. Getting a loan was a different story. Mile says of the experience, finding a loan for a new business with less than 3 years' experience is extremely difficult, especially during a recession. But we were persistent and continued to search for financing options in order to fulfill our equipment needs. Cal Recycle saw our potential and offered us a loan that helped launch our business. Once Santa Paula Materials launched, Mile and Rocco set themselves apart by carrying a more diversified selection of products and need. They say a good day at the office means that there are no breakdowns and all of the equipment is running smoothly. Yet they underscore this ideal situation could not be achieved without the daily efforts and dedication. Today, Santa Paula Materials enjoys more than 50 regular customers, ranging from local nurseries to the California Department of Transportation. Next, they want to expand the business into areas of gravel and decorative stone. The Gerbiches anticipate their revenue increasing by $2 million in the next 3 years. Mile is also bringing Rocco's two sisters into the business to take the lead on administrative work. When work and family are so intertwined, the father-son pair say that, at the end of the day, we always choose to remember that family comes first and that we need to focus on the greater good of the company. Looking back at how far they've come, Mile and Rocco I did not know that such freedom and business opportunity could exist. He adds, winning the Spirit of Small Business Award is a truly amazing feeling. It's valuable recognition that shows our family and employees' hard work is paying off. We truly appreciate it and feel honored. In an era of medical advancements, there are biotech-derived treatments for every condition under the sun. Yet Lynn Roll was always more accustomed to natural remedies from growing up on a farm.
I think growing up, just how my parents raised me was more going a natural route anyway. The idea of health maintenance, like trying to take care of things before they really become big things, that really, intrigued me.
Trading in a career in healthcare to stay at home with her young children, Lynn faced a difficult decision when her son was diagnosed with attention deficit disorder. While the doctors recommended Ritalin, Lynn had other ideas.
They wanted to put our son on Ritalin. It hasn't been around that long. You start on 5 years and it's something that he would take for the rest of his life, and how would it affect him hormonally, and just so many unanswered questions. I ran upon this doctor, and he was in pediatrics, and he said that, I just came back from a conference in California, and they've had some really good, experiences with superfoods. And I was like, wow, I'd never heard of that before. I always knew of healthy diets, but superfoods, that was kind of new.
Once introduced to this natural alternative, Lynn was enthusiastic about assessing its effect on her son's behavior. While she was happy with the results, the flavor left much to be desired.
I started finding out there was nothing out there that was really great. And if it did taste, it was really sweet. It was artificially sweet, which was kind of an oxymoron. You didn't want that either.
After discovering this void in the industry, and with the encouragement of her husband Reno, Lynn began to source high-quality ingredients from across the globe to make her own delicious and powerful superfood blend.
I had this list of ingredients, and we put them together, and I've given it to a formulator, and actually cost nothing. I didn't even think about it. I just wanted the best. I wanted the best ingredients. So he had put together this formula for me that, it was great. It was amazing. It tasted great, but the cost was definitely an issue.
Lynn refused to skimp on premium, effective ingredients, so she decided to bypass brick-and-mortar retail by tapping her husband's experience in direct-to-consumer marketing, which quickly brought Boku Superfood to 65 different countries. Recently, Boku enjoyed a stint on a home shopping channel. Despite the late-night time slot, the brand enjoyed record-breaking success.
3 o'clock in the morning. Our first time, we were so excited, we didn't realize it was so late, and we were wondering if anyone's going to be awake. And it ended up where that was the night we really broke records, and had people flying out of the control rooms like, oh my God, and we didn't know what we did. We're just doing our thing. So that really, really propelled us to probably a 4-time growth in just 18 months. That's probably the second big challenge is dealing with that kind of rapid growth.
As her brand grew, Lynn began to introduce new products with ingredients like medicinal mushrooms, unique protein blends, and in the future, superfoods for pets. Today, the Ventura-based company operates on $5 million to $10 million a year. With Lynn's perseverance and business intuitiveness, Boku consumers look forward to seeing her business expand, while Lynn anticipates reaching more people with the healing power of food.
I want Boku to be known, in everyone's household, whether it's small or if it's something that people taking superfood every day. Just listening to the phone calls, there's like, how it's changed people's lives. I mean, what else could you ask for?
With the support of her family and the success of her company, she's learned to trust herself, accept the accolades, and share her experience with others.
Just being recognized for this
contracts, and I saw how they functioned and they operated. When it comes to taking on a project and completing it on time and making sure that your client is happy.
Leading a minority-owned business, Ron is honored to carry on a tradition that can be traced back for generations. His long family heritage of working hard has been passed down from great-grandparents to Ron.
To have a work ethic like mine, it's tough on my wife because she sees me work so hard sometimes and she says, "You don't need to do that."
Of his business, Ron has been able to thrive and grow more than he would ever be able to on his own.
There's not enough man hours in the day to do what I do, but I mean, it's about the team that I have. From, like I said, I have a great controller, contracts administrator, vice president, project engineers. We have a team out in the field. We have superintendents. We have a bunch of tradesmen that are 100% vested in lead builders.
With so many things to be proud of, Ron never forgets those who have helped him. In accepting this award, he extends his gratitude to a long list of people, including Steve Gilroy, who nominated him.
I want to thank him for submitting me for this award. I knew nothing about it. It was a total surprise.
But Ron holds a special thank you for his family. In the arena of solar power, Maureen Schumann and Jeremy Favier honed their abilities and approach in energy progressive France.
Everything started really to take off around 2006, 2007, when the French government really, pushed big incentives to go solar.
Though the couple shares a deep fondness for their home country, when Jeremy was offered an engineering job in Santa Barbara, he and Maureen enthusiastically jumped at the opportunity.
We always wanted to have our own company, to work for the environment, to do something that, as we were mentioning before, empowers people and do something that is important. And when we had the opportunity to open the US branch of a family business, we jumped right on it, and it was great.
Once here, the couple was surprised by the lack of solar integration in the sunny coastal community.
There's just not that many solar panels, I go everywhere. People seem to be very eco-friendly. And so that's how it actually started.
Part of the challenge locally is the value residents place on architecture. Traditional solar installation methods created a conflict between eco-consciousness and structural aesthetics. Their time in France and their experience with old architecture gave Maureen and Jeremy the skills to seamlessly blend the two.
One of the main objections that I received when I was talking about solar from architects but also homeowners is, well, I have a Spanish-style roof, so I can't put solar on it. And I was very surprised because in France, the only roof that we know is a Spanish-style roof. We have those nice red tiles and we recess and integrate solar on top of them.
After conducting significant market research, Jeremy and Maureen decided to officially bring their European solar model to the Tri-Counties area under the name Brighton Solar. In their marketing efforts, Brighton focuses more on education than hard selling, which has generated a sense of trust and loyalty from their commercial and residential customers. Though starting a business is a daunting effort,
Doing it in a different country could be a challenge, but that could be a great opportunity as well, because there is a lot of things that you can bring on the table that nobody else is bringing, because it's coming from all your experience from Europe, from all over the world.
within just 1 year, Brighton Solar has implemented solar projects from San Luis Obispo to Los Angeles, and their customers are tracking to yield full returns on investment within 7, 6, even 5 years.
I'm responsible for taking care of installation, and when I go see the homeowner saying, what can we do for you? How was it? And when people are saying, no, it was great. I mean, it was the best construction day I ever had. So it's just awesome. I mean, you're so glad to finishing your workday with that, you know, like you made somebody happy. There you go. I mean, that's perfect.
It's new friendships, and so usually I'm thinking more about the persons under the roof than what's on top of it.
Both Jeremy and Maureen are humbled and honored by the award. For them, it's a testament that they are doing the right thing.
Definitely love this community, and we've received lots of good thoughts, and receiving this award is extremely appreciated. So yeah, good time to say thank you.